When it comes to full-size SUVs, there's one purpose, and that is to get the job done. But what that job is can vary widely. Hey, welcome to Station Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now, most full-size offerings really deliver that towing power, the big engine on the hood, and, well, refinement is kind of an afterthought. Well, that is until this week's test drive arrived, specifically the 2020 Mercedes GLS450. So first off, let's really define what my opinion of full size is. By the numbers, this vehicle is easily going to measure over 200 inches, which in my opinion creeps it much past the mid-size segment. Better yet, it delivers that third row, and in my opinion, delivers actual decent comfort versus other third rows we know that are kind of an Achilles heel for any backseat drivers. But at the end of the day, full size at its very simplest meaning means, well, it's commanding on the road and definitely casts its own shadow. So the GLS450 definitely creeps into the full-size segment, but, well, it isn't the biggest offering on the road. Naturally, there's bigger SUVs, but, well, they're getting a different job done. What this one's doing well is, well, what you'll see on the inside. And where it starts is, well, in the overall numbers. First off, around about 123 inches when it comes to wheelbase, overall length about 205, width about 6.5 feet wide, and, well, just under 6 feet tall. Decent numbers that, again, don't make it feel bloated, but makes it feel, well, nice and refined. Lastly is ground clearance, starting at around about 7.9 inches, but with the rise of this vehicle, it can easily creep over to about 8.5. So there is that fine line with full-size offerings. As they get too big, they get bloated, they get voluptuous, and they lose that kind of elegance that, well, this GLS 450 really captures. But what the GLS does still well is, well, delivers that third row comfort. Again, kind of one check off that I have when I want to see full size, because, well, I want to deliver about as many people as I can in a pinch, and, well, if a vehicle is going to deliver length, well, that third row is definitely going to help in a pinch. Now look at the design. Again, this is where it's keeping its tight lines, its elegant look, and really one thing I've noticed across the industry is everyone's getting rid of that voluptuous look. The haunches at the four corners, everything's tightening up. Now certainly this vehicle has kind of a wedge-like feel as it sweeps to the back, as the upper lines taper in just a little bit, but again, really just nice and smooth edges. One thing it really minimizes, well, is the chiseled to perfection look, with really only a modest ridge line through here, a little tapering down to the side, but otherwise from the profile, a nice, elegant overall look. With its overall size, the GLS 450 definitely has a commanding presence on the road, but where it starts is good old guerrilla warfare. But there is a fine line. On big SUVs, they tend to do a lot of blunt force trauma, and, well, it's just too much in your face. When you're going elegant-esque, especially with the star up front, you've got to kind of keep it somewhat modest, and, well, that's what I think they've done well here. First off, with a nice, huge open-face grille, some nice horizontal slatting, dressed out in kind of a brush look with a little bit of chrome dressed around the touchy points. Also, of course, the star and blaze on the front, and that seems to get bigger and bigger with every offering I get behind the wheel. Long gone, of course, are the hood ornaments. Now, where you're going to see airflow is certainly through the middle, but this right through here is an implied open face grille, but no true operation on either side. As for the design, it is somewhat squared off at the front with just a barely a taper here at the sides. One thing about that is it really goes nice with the overall silhouette. Too much curvaceousness up here would really kind of go quirky with the overall look. The grille warfare at the front end really sets the tone for elegance versus that in-your-face menacing look that would contrast the refinement that this vehicle delivers. Here at the back end, what you're really noticing is straight lines and a somewhat boxy approach. Now, this vehicle isn't squared off by any means, but it definitely doesn't go the sculpted route. Had they, well, angled too much liposuction here, that really would have compromised overall interior feel. So going with this somewhat squared off look really equates to great interior volume. Now, as for the rest of the design, you're looking at, again, somewhat straightforward approach. Nice full-size hatch that really gets up out of the way. I'll show you that in a second. Nice wrapping around rear taillights that give nice viewpoints from all angles and nice safety. 450. Body color, of course, everywhere else. Chrome down here at the bottom that really couples nicely with that same accent low on the front end. So before we climb inside, let's talk about some safeties. First off, 360 view around this vehicle here, the back, on the side, and at the front end really comes in handy in those tight spots and really is integrated as you park or maneuver back. The cameras pop up, really allow this vehicle to feel so much smaller. Now, what I like is especially the business end of things on any full-size vehicle like this. And it first starts here at the back end, the good old power hatch to be expected here on the GLS. Now, what you're going to find roughly around about 17 cubic feet of space back here, 42 with the third row laid down, and around about 84 cubic feet with everything laid flat. Now, for this particular model, you do have room enough for 2 in the back, 2 in the middle, and 2 at the front end, but you can have up to 7 if you opt for more of a 3 across there in the second row. Now, the overall spacing back here is equivalent to a big size sedan, most of it really being able to be harnessed in this lower section. As you creep up, there is a little bit of bend here to the back frame, though the glass will give you a little bit of width up here as well. Now, what you will find is a nice tonneau cover that will hide even this area, which seems a little difficult to even see in, but it does help protect people being able to see what you have in here. What I do like is what lies beneath here, specifically a nice spare tire. Now, as for the operation, this is a 50-50 split rear seating, and you do have power controls. You can operate right through here. Just simply press right there, and it's going to tumble the seat forward with ease. After you press it, it'll go right down. Now, when it comes to this rear tonneau cover, you can reposition it there behind the second row. You'll actually see these caps over the voids that you simply just press on. They'll pop out. Again, just a nice level of refinement. When you're not using a tonneau cover, it cleans that right up. Now, to remove this, it's real easy. Spring loaded here on the outer edges. Just simply take that out or move it forward. Now, what you'll notice is there are actual power controls on both sides, so I can simply either fold down on this side or that side from either position. What you also notice is nice seat belt holders that are tucked in here on the side, and again, that allows the operation of the seats without getting the seat belts all bunched up. Now, getting into the third row is made fairly easy on this particular model because you do have captain chairs here in the second. Now, on paper, you're going to have around about 40.3 inches of legroom in the front, around about 41 inches in the second row, but surprisingly, one thing I couldn't find is legroom numbers here for the third row. Now, this is where the full-size differences really come into play. Now, what I like are the numbers in the front row and second row, because really for backseat passengers, 41 inches in the second row is way too much. And one thing I found is I creep this seat up fairly decently. These are powered. I'll show you that in just a second. Probably compromise about 4 inches of legroom, maybe making it around about 36, 37. And even for my tall frame, what I found is this is fairly decent comfort back here. And again, with this captain chairs, my right leg is actually able to be positioned right about here, give me some stretchability. So overall feel back here, even again for my 6'2" frame, well, it's not too bad. One thing I found interesting here on the GLS450 and kind of the forward thinking that Mercedes has is typically when you're going to pick people up, whether you're being chauffeured or valeted or whatever, you're going to pick them up here on the passenger side. And the reason I mention that is because, well, the way this seat operates different here on this side versus the driver's side. And what I'm referring to is a button right up here on the shoulder. You just simply press it and it's actually going to operate with a tilting and move motion. Now, right now I'm putting it back, and what it does with just simply the pressing there is move everything forward. Not only just the second row here, but also the front allows for ease and maneuverability, specifically getting ingress there into the second row. Now, once it's positioned, obviously you can get it back to the exact spot you need it, but I found that this was a great setup, really making for ingress so much easier. We could all argue that the pilot and co-pilot seats are probably the #1 position, but here on the GLS450, I haven't found a bad seat in the house. Even the third row with the ability to move this second row forward really delivers great comfort, but most notable is really here in the second row. First, starting with the overall captain's chair styling, nice elbow support, really coupled nicely on the door as well, really giving you a nice overall feel for those long trips or, well, quick jaunts to the store. What you're also going to notice is the window shading. Now, this is a bright sunny day. This is truly tapering down the overall sun, keeping it nice, cool, and really keeping the brightness out of the cabin. Though if I do want to let it in, it is power controlled. Just simply hit the window operation and it easily goes down. Press it again and naturally the window will retract as well. But what I like is, again, the refinement and the level of premium here on the GLS450. Seating positions in the front and second row are controlled with power options found on the door, with the seating position at the bottom, the seat back, and the headrest. Front occupants as well get extra thigh support with the control here. As for backseat drivers, they do have the option for heated seats in the front. They do add cool. Now for the overall comfort for backseat drivers, you will find a tri-zone system with the controls found here on the back of the center console, right down to dual zones for heating things up separately, as well as fan speed. What I also like is vent positioning, really right behind the center console and also on the B pillar. One area I did keep shaded all the time was the full glass roof up above, because my bald head probably just couldn't handle it. But if you do want to gaze at the stars or let the light in, just simply retract that for a full view. At the four corners, you got 21-inch rims. At the front, 275/45s. Here at the back, 315/40s. Nice brushed accent when it comes to the rims. Not a lot of chrome blinging out in this vehicle. It is refined but subdued with kind of more of that platinum look. Coupling nicely with the overall refinement on the outside, what you're going to see on the hood, instead of a bi-turbo type of horsepower, instead you're going to see an inline 6-cylinder with EQ boost. Now specifically what the EQ does both on the 450 and the GLS 580 is basically supplement the power with an efficient integrated starter generator. This integrated electric motor system, known as the EQ boost, assists the combustion engine by adding up to 21 horsepower for short periods of time. EQ boost also assists with accelerating, making driving without the combustion engine turned on possible, also known as sailing, and supplies the battery with power by means of high efficiency recuperation. By doing so, it makes fuel savings possible that were previously the exclusive domain of high voltage hybrid technology. So what does that mean at the end of the day for the 3.0 liter inline 6-cylinder engine? Well, it delivers around about 362 horses and 369 foot-pounds of torque. Even better could be the 0 to 60 numbers, which is around about 5.9 seconds. Not bad for a decent sized vehicle like the 450. Quick overview of what's going on here on the dash, with a nice oversized LCD display both for the gauge cluster and the information system right here center of the dash. And this is going to house everything from comfort, radio, navigation, all under one big LCD display. Now you do have nice interaction when it comes to touch sensitive, but you also have a trackpad down below. But real quick, what you have is real easy to scroll through with the phone, navigation, radio. You also have comfort settings. Now this will go everything down to massage settings as well as ambient lighting. And I won't go through all the details, but what's great is you can really set the tone inside this vehicle with multiple color options, even right down to a color wheel. You can select your specific color tone inside this vehicle, but pretty much everything real easy to use under this one screen. So the infotainment system is touch sensitive, but you're more than likely going to use the trackpad because it kind of is an arm stretch away. Really allows you to put your palm here and dance around using the trackpad, and it does have shortcuts should you get lost. Now around the outside are other shortcuts from navigation, radio, telephone, also some other settings. What I do like is you do have park assist, which can easily help maneuver this vehicle in the tight spots. This vehicle does have various driving modes, everything from econo, comfort, sport, and individual. Though I will say with the 6-cylinder, I didn't spend a lot of time in sport and pretty much just kept it nice at the econo level. One thing you will notice on the infotainment system is really no real shortcut to the climate controls. You think it might be under comfort, but that really is the massage settings and the lighting. Just no real way to get to the climate. But one thing I did find that helps everything out is this shortcut button here. Once you just press that, it takes over the full screen, and then you realize, well, it's so easy to get to this. Now what you'll find is pretty much all the mode selects for both front occupants, changing the vent selection as well as the temperature, and of course the fan speed through the middle, as well as other shortcuts down below. This so much easier to integrate and use versus dialing in down below. Wood grain accents going to be found here through the middle, leather trim everywhere else. What's great is the ability to make everything again look nice and regal, especially hiding the operation of things like cup holders when you don't need it. Now what you'll find is just simply pushing that back, you will find dual cup holders as well as a wireless charging pad and connectivity and an extra charging area as well right through here. Now the height of this vehicle can rise by about ½ an inch when needed. It's all done right here by simply pressing up on this. You'll notice a little indicator there on the gauge cluster telling the vehicle is rising, as well as that little red light. If you need to lower it, just simply pull it down. Now that does for this edition of Roy Warren, a test drive behind the wheel of the 2020 Mercedes GLS450 with the grip at the four corners and decent pep in its step under the hood. But most notable really has to be that 3 rows of comfort and the fact that, well, this is truly feeling full size. But again, it's not the biggest thing on the road, which makes it feel so much more refined, because bigger isn't always better, but getting almost there is probably just good enough. Now, as always, thank you for watching this edition of Road Warrior. Keep both hands on the wheel and eyes straight ahead.